Yay. It seems like that we are live now. So, hello everyone. Um, yeah, we will just wait a couple of minutes. We will wait a bit for all registered participants. Yeah. So, maybe I do a bit of entertaining before we get started. So, guys, I have a question to you. So, if you can write in the chat that you are seeing us and hearing us correctly, of course, if you may share that, you can write there from which town, country, or organization you are, and that will be quite helpful for us. So we will wait for a couple of answers. But during that part, how are you today? Maybe we'll just.
Thank you so much, Raf, for the question. I'm pretty nice, pretty exhausted after last year. We are just finalizing as you know, the all stuff that we do for 2023. But we can definitely say to everybody that we have great success last year, and we're looking forward to the 2024. Actually, using this occasion, we can invite some people to Dynamics Minds. That's
Yeah.
probably the soonest event that will happen. I mean, there's Lisbona as well, but definitely we want to be present on Dynamics Minds. Raf, don't you think that this was the best event last year?
I think I can say that one of the best in Europe on the Dynamics Minds. So yeah, we are willing and we will be there, guys. So you have just seen in the chat section the link to this event. So if you want to meet us in person and to hear a bit more about our tools and how we approach testing automation and security configuration by our tools, there will be a few sessions of yours, Bart. Am I right? Which will be very interesting because uh, this will give you, I will say, a bit of unfair advantage because those things which we are sharing there are very insightful and very precise, describing how you should approach the topics considering those two areas. So yeah, go ahead and join us there, and we will be able to shake hands during this summit because it will be on prem. So yeah, we have been used to that everything's online, but yeah, the Dynamics Minds event was, I think, the first or the second one last year, which were organized not only virtually but as on on premises. So personal, typical affairs with uh, guys, networking, meeting, drinking coffee together, and chit chatting about all those things which we have done together. So that was very good event. I have very good memories about that. So yeah, join us there. Okay, I
That's
see that some few comments already. So okay, Coldware from Nigeria. Okay, Pakistan Guru Group. So amazing, amazing guys. Uh, Feel free to write that from, I would say, write the answer for my question during the webinar. So if you would like to share with us where are you from, it will be amazing. So I think we can start. So thank you guys for joining us today. So again, hello everyone. So yeah, remember firstly to click and subscribe our Executive Automats and Executive Automats Security Setup YouTube channel. So I will firstly introduce myself. I'm Rafał Nyszewski. I will be a moderator of today's show, Dynamics 365 Security Roles, Step-by-Step License and Security Optimization. So today I'm here with Bart. Bart, our product manager of whole framework, Executive Automats framework. So before we will jump into the agenda of today's show, I would just want to remind that the chat is on, as we have already tested, it's working. So you can address any questions during this webinar. And also we are recording the session, so you will receive the link to the recording to the email which you have registered with. Yeah, we can move forward to the agenda. So first, we will do a short introduction to the how the licensing and what are their duties and privileges and everything in the Dynamics 365 finance operations. Then we will show you how the security roles look like in terms of the model in the 365 finance operations, and what is the standard configuration and standard roles pack which is embedded in the Microsoft solution. And we'll give you a sneak peek to the uh, licensing calculation, and we'll do together the exercise um, to give you a bit of hands-on experience together with Bart and together with our solution. So it will be a bit of presentation of how you can utilize our tool live. And last but not least, question and answer session. um, we will respond to you all the questions, so feel free to answer those questions during the show. Okay, I see some guys from Poland and Canada. Oh, amazing, and quite familiar name of the company. So welcome, Sam Commissionary here. Yeah. So let's move to the star of the show part. The stage is yours.
Thank you so much, Ralph. Super happy that we are again sharing this presentation together today. Yeah, we're gonna start with the introductions. With the security roles based model. So this is gonna be the just give understanding for everybody. So we're gonna be on the same page on the licensing component and then simply security component. We can move to the second slide, Ralph, if you may. Thank you so much. So, the first thing first, if you're going to think about Dynamics finance and operations, you're going to think about, when it comes to the role-based security, you need to think about roles, duties, and privileges, which are building so-called role-based security model. Finance and operations has one of the most precise or the highest possible capabilities of limiting and granting access to the users. You can be hyper precise, and by saying that, you can limit fields, you can limit even queries in the fields. You can do multiple exceptions to be compliant with SOX compliance, which is again kind of a art, but it is possible. But it actually requires a lot of technical knowledge to understand the whole security component. The roles, duties, and privileges, we can say, they are actually kind of a groups which are aggregating something called securable objects. And these elements, the smallest particles, we can say UI interface elements, table fields, and so forth. These elements, other way called entry points, they are aggregated through those privileges duties, building then roles. This concept right now can be pretty simple, but if you're going to go to the second slide, if you're going to think about where these elements are hidden, actually finance and operations and every UI interface, every UI element here, we have in here sales auto creation, sales, all sales tables form. On the top of the ribbon, you've got multiple functions. You've got credit note, confirmations, approve agreements, and so forth. These elements, these are functionalities behind them. They are new forms, new components. You can actually give users access to selected elements. Anything which is on the top ribbon can give access to the user. The form on we are right now, all sales table, stay stable. These elements, you need to also have access to it. So we can say that every form, every button, most likely will have an entry point behind. Of course, there are situations where the button doesn't have entry point, but this more like a minority. Most of them, they will have something called entry point behind the scenes. So if you want to give user access to see all sales orders and to make them read, create, delete, or update, you just need to be precise and give access to selected entry point, and then to what level of access you want to give access to the specific entry point. So this makes this a little bit complicated, and system gives you the standard functionality to identify which entry point is behind the scenes. So if you're going to right click on any element, you're going to see form information, and you might get some sense, some feeling what is behind, what I need to add to the user so they're going to have access to it. How does this actually compare, or how does it fit with standard? You can follow to the next slide. The standard Dynamics has something called standard roles package. While ago, Microsoft did an investment, and they actually, based on the APQC process qualification, they built a framework which has the basic package of roles. This means that when you are implementing Dynamics Finance and Operations, you have the choice to use either standardized package roles, or you can use something which is not standardized. You can create your own role, which it is not some super simple task to do. And very often, partners are leaving this to the customer side. So partner will implement finance and operations. They will perfectly fit gaps and fits, and they will configure a system so you're going to be happy and satisfied. But the component for security will be left to you to decide if you will select specific role for specific people. Understanding the responsibilities, or which role fits the specific person's responsibilities, is a kind of a science. You need to understand responsibilities, you need to match people responsibilities with existing roles, duties, and then make a choice. The standard roles, they are coming from APQC, like a standardized, we can call that this is a standardized way how business works across the globe, which is a not exactly good choice, because you can definitely say that not all industries will have the same accounts receivable clerk. Not all industries will have the same sales representative. Sales managers will have different duties in different organizations. And the bummer is that your choices, which role you're going to assign to the users, will they might give you exactly what you wanted from the security perspective, but they will have the exact impact on the way on the amount you pay for month by month, year by year licensing component to the Microsoft. If you have enterprise agreement, which will carry on through few years, that is even more important to perform that activity before you're gonna sign a long-term agreement. If you are a company which further in the time scale, you're going to be SOX compliant and you need to rebuild duties, most likely you need to build your own roles, duties, and privileges. So you can't use so much standard. I mean, using standard will mean that the project for SOX compliance implementation will be much more expensive. As these are kind of a side topics, I'm just giving you a taste of how deep or which directions it can drift. Please notice that, and if you're going to have some questions regarding some of those topics, write on the chat questions. As Raf was mentioning, we can follow back to them on the Q&A session, or you can definitely schedule some more session to either on site or online session to discuss that. The security topic is kind of a rare or not exactly described online, so you have to Google a lot and then browse for documentations. So this is one of the reasons why it is important to understand a bit more about this whenever we can. So that's all from the standard pack, and carrying on to the next slide.
Yeah,
We can
before that,
actually,
yeah,
yep.
sorry about that. Before that, guys, so we have shared in the chat section the APQC organization link. So basically, you can find those insights which Microsoft did with them together. But like Bart said, licensing model and security configuration is a hard topic, especially, well, the standard role configuration not helps a lot. So if you want to chat with us and discuss with us potentials and what we can deliver together with usage of our tool and with our best practice approach and the knowledge which we already having in terms of that, right now in the chat section we'll send the link to uh, the calendar of ours, and you can book a meeting with us and discuss the possibilities. So take the advantage of that and meet us together, and one of our experts or us, and let's chat about those topics together. So yeah, moving forward to the next slide. Yeah, thank you, guys.
Thank you so much, Raf. Yeah, indeed, it might be important for you to understand some specific concepts. Maybe on your specific situation, we can just help you out. Um, and if you're going to think about of the licensing model later on, when you're going to make the decision to use standardized package, you'll have to work with these reports. Dynamics has two major reports, which are trying to give you a feeling. You want to grasp the picture of what license level you will need to get for a specific user and how much you will need to pay at the end of the day. Unfortunately, these two reports are pretty hard to combine at the end of the day. You have to do a lot of manual work and combinations in order to understand what is your current licensing shape. So, and then when you redo some activities, you will need to repeat one by one these activities again for calculations. Part of the functionality you're going to see today, there are out of the box reports helping you more precisely calculate licenses you need. So, standardized report to explain you a bit. System goes from account to the account. So Alicia, April, and more accounts going forward up to Benjamin. These accounts, they have specific roles applied. What system does, system extracts all those small particles called entry points and checks what permissions or what type of license is behind the entry point, summarizes that, and tells you Alicia is a person which majority of entry points are accumulated for supply chain management, which means Alicia will become a basic SCM license. April has the majority in finance, so April is basic finance. This the new licensing type, considering the basics plus attachments, it's kind of a complicated as well. So that's probably a topic for another webinar to explain that. But when you're going to have broader scale of users, you will need to make here some notes. So as you see here, these licenses estimators, they are pretty general, and throughout different projects we haven't seen this so useful. I mean, it was just kind of a load to do. We'll show you some other way how we work on the projects with different reports. If you're gonna move to the second slide, I mean the next slide, you will see that this is not the end of the story. The system, aside of the entry points, table permissions, and so forth, we got a bit more. This is so-called code permissions. This is so-called XDSs. So you are able to make an exceptions and modify forms. So you revoke access from the users to the specific button. Let's say we don't want to show margin fields or margin the totals functionality, totals form to the users. We can apply code permissions to a specific element so they will not see that. And perfect. The deal is done. Only manager sees that for some reason, but you can actually very easily manage these elements. This is actually form modification, but Dynamics has these capabilities. But this makes this more robust. This makes this a bit more complicated to learn. But again, this also underlines that Dynamics is the most complex solution for role-based design and possibilities to give you precise access rights. Now we're going to focus on two exercises. Super glad to show you these. Just to give you understanding, prior to responsibilities that I'm carrying right now, I was a security consultant on a few contracts, and we've been able to do a very deep investigation of what you need to have to create a perfect security access rights. Thanks to those ideas and other team members from our company, we've been able to create a solution called Executive Automates for Security Setup, which gonna be part of the exercise. And I would love to show you how to use this for creation of the role. So let's switch the sharing to my screen now, and we will show you the application. Application called Executive Automates for Security is the extension for finance and operations, and it just stands in the administration module. You're going to have here roles, process, maintain module, and maybe prior are going to go there. A second ago, we've been discussing the element of licensing. We actually have a much more understandable report, which lists you all users from your entire application, which gives you a summary how many users are on what level. So basic SCM, basic finance, basic commerce. You have multiple attachments, also team member activities. So I'm able quickly to identify which user has which access right, how much we have to pay for them, because actually these numbers, they come from your definition of licensing price. So you're able to define in the configuration how much you have to pay for specific user. Then there is a new component which not in all versions is deployed on the customers. So if somebody from our customers are here today, please expect new package as well. We are adding new fields here to make this report even more compatible for quick look on the current positions. So if your users are having positions from the organization and set up in HR, I'm able to find out if all purchasing agents, which are listed here, are having the same license. So I can make a quick query, find out all purchasing agents, and find out, all right, they are all SCMs, basic SCM. If I'm going to find some more low-level position, like I'm going to have warehouse operator, and the warehouse operator will become basic SCM, the highest paid license, that's the red light. What I'm going to do, I'm going to just focus on optimization of the one person. Most likely, 10% of the positions, if you're going to optimize them, you're going to have practically 70 to 80% of savings on licensing. So it is important to make this a low-hanging fruit first for recognition, first for validation and deployment. We're going to come back to the security license report a bit later. I see already some questions on the chat, but if you have some specific for that, I'll come back to this. Anyway, executive automate security setup, roles, process, maintain. This is our module, and the best or the easiest explanation on the left-hand side, this is nothing else as your hierarchy from the organization, meaning that you are defining here your business areas, sales, purchases, warehouse, and so forth. When you have your areas, underneath that, you define what positions you've got. We've got positions like sales clerk. So sales clerk has these responsibilities. And these responsibilities, each by one, they've got specific entry points needed to perform that activity, like selecting a particular sales order or adding new customer. This needs a selected entry points. So this gives you an understanding, like a total view on all positions, all job titles, responsibilities across these job titles, across the different kind of areas or departments, depending how you organize your organization. Why we do that? Just because we know what is the coverage, and by this element, it is more understandable for us if you have good role for one job. And actually, if I'm going to have a sales clerk, I'll try to minimize number of roles, and actually we'll try to have one role for one position. So I'm going to have one global role for global responsibilities for my sales representative. So my all sales going to have at least one. I mean, probably one role. In the situation when I have one, I'm going to have multiple markets. Like I'm going to have Italy, France, US, Canada. I can have one global role, and I can have four different for local functionalities roles, which mean that typically one sales representative going to have one role for global processes plus second role for local processes. Thanks to that, modification for my global responsibilities will never impact the license level for the whole company. This is a must have. So we can say when you start the project, you go to the organization, you build the hierarchy, and then you go department by department, identifying positions. And then when I have my positions, I can define what processes they do to create a perfect role for them. Of course, this is up to you. We can help you build your hierarchy, but at the end of the day, you're going to have your own personalized one. We're going to create here underneath the webinar roles node and another example role. So we're going to create a new child entry, webinar 401. So in here for that row, we can actually load some task recordings. So we can use task recordings that you've got. We can use executive automats. Just quickly, executive automats, this is a test automation application. So this means that if I'm going to have my test plan for my day-by-day or weekly smoke tests, I can use those test cases created in the purpose of validation of the business to convert them to security duties. So win-win. I need to have my all test cases, all business processes ready for testing. I can extract from all of them entry points to have duties equal to business processes and roles based on that. I can do the same with task recordings, of course. If you are following the RSAT and you are still deciding which way to go, if you have something like that, you can use this. At the end of the day, if I'm going to go to sales department and say, guys, I need you to create me a recording of your responsibilities. They're going to click here and then they're going to say create recording, and they're going to do SO plus credit check plus confirm. So we're going to have one end-to-end, I'm not end-to-end, but more robust process. And sales representative will just record for me these processes they do. It is good when this is recorded by a subject matter expert or somebody who knows and is responsible for security, to not give too much. But of course, the idea is that we are mapping my responsibility, which I'm carrying as sales representative, and I'm just going to go here naturally create an SO. This process can be this process doesn't need to be kind of a continuous. This can be just random clicks throughout the application, but the application recognizes every choice, every interaction with entry points that you're going to do. So now I'm going to carry to confirm now after saving. So I'm going to do one process here. And then we're going to do check credit limit. 3 elements: creation, definition, check credit limit, confirm now. All is good. Stop recording. Save to this PC. I've got one file. Circling back. We define the project in the organization. We go to SMEs. We ask them precisely to go to record steps for processes. We can actually talk to them globally. So at the end of the day, you will get a library of the processes from different departments. You're going to have multiple processes, which later on you can just upload to the application. And then each of these recordings can be a source for duty. So I can quickly come back to roles process maintain, find out my position, example role from today, and load task recording from the current process. SO credit limit check, include table permissions, controls permissions, confirm. And system tells me that I need some action items, display items, credit limit, confirm, create new list page. Good to go. We have multiple elements. I can now go here and create duty. Ideally, we could create some naming convention, which will define the process name, process code, and process variant. So duty will have much more details. But of course, right now for these activities, we're going to do, of course, meaningful for the current session. One process created, duty created. Let's do second process. Let's do return to my menu and record another process. Let's do projects configuration. I mean, I'm right now guessing what we can do. I hope projects in the system are configured. Most likely not, because they are configured, so we won't have any issues. But let's see. Setup. Let's go to journals, journal names, and create new journal. Test, and voucher series. Save. Let's see. Journal created. Stop. Save to this PC, and come back to the application. Of course, we could do more processes in bulk and then have more loaded, but I just want to show you how quickly you can design that and extract and then load a duty into the system. Yeah, that's recording. Browse, project configuration, and confirm. For that, we need journal names, display item. There is also information about the license level. And again, create new duty, project configuration journals. Now we can say create new role, webinar sales rep. Capital E. All right, that's good. For the first time, the role will be created with automatic publishing, as well with the duties and privileges. In the security configuration, you will see here the webinar role 1 with duties. Sorry, this was webinar sales rep. We have multiple duties here created with privilege, with action and display items, and references to controls. Yeah, as mentioned, this goes very deep level. All right. Role is created. The last thing what I could do is just apply that to the user. So user will see just specific components of the system I recorded. So I can remove previous roles. I can actually remove system admin. Actually, I'm right now operating as this account. So let me give you, let's do another exercise. And then we're going to apply that newly created role to the user. So you're going to see how system is limited, how we can limit the system in the very broad way. So let's go here, back to the application. We have one role created with those duties. I'm going to create another role. Well, let's call this sales rep Italy specifics. In Italy, we have another responsibilities. So the sales representative in Italy, they need to do, let's say, fixed asset. I have some processes pre-coded. There's going to be fixed asset creation, and this is going to be another one, let's say, warehouse location creation. Simple processes. And again, create a duty. Creation and duty for warehouse location creation duty. The duties creation, and let's call that sales rep Italy. Now we have two roles created. Perfect. I'm operating here as my account, BART account. I will just use for that activity quickly executive automats, just to not sort of explain what I'm doing. I'm just applying with another account that two roles that we created. So I had prior to that system admin. I'm going to apply those two newly created roles. So this was the webinar sales rep and sales rep Italy. Sales rep Italy. Perfect. Two roles. And then we can finally come back to the application and refresh, expecting an error message. Access denied. Naturally, we don't have access to the system administration, but we have access to sales and marketing, all sales, fixed assets. We have access to warehouse location, and we have access to journals in project. And I actually can do only these processes which were identified by the business. And actually, we can say that this is the only way to go, because you are able to work with the business, ask them what are their responsibilities day by day, identify the processes, convert them to duties, build the duties, build the roles, give them the access, and then make a sign off. Just make them sign the paper that they can perform their operations. And of course, there might be a small particle of enhancements you can perform. This is something you can always think about to give more and more, or to drag down licensing costs. This is probably the part for another webinar. But of course, you can do reiterations later on to bring down the costs and make this environment more secure. Anyway, my application was very quickly limited. I can come back to the full admin rights. I'm going to apply here system administrator rights. And I'm going to show you one more element. System admin. Perfect. System admin is here. We can again reset. We're going to have full access rights. And typically on my account, if I'm going to build a role for my specific sales representative needs, I will not do the test here. What I will do, I would most likely go to my webinar role. So I'm going to select my process that the roles that we created, and I can export this specific role as system configuration, security configuration. And that security configuration can be loaded to another application So I can actually create package of the role and then load it to the UAT environment where business is actually doing the day by day jobs. So then, as you can see, system can load a role, duty, and privilege created on another environment, another application. Um, so that is something which you can cover. Creation from scratch roles, making them precise, building on the UAT's validation, a sign off through this way. You can back up, of course, the roles as well. And then when you're gonna do a role creation, you can make a validation if the licensing level meets the requirement for the business. Because that might be nonsense to have a warehouse operator with basic finance NSCM role consider as attachment and pay $200 month by month per user, which is doing very specific counting activities or inventory location transfers, so forth. Yeah, maybe to not give you today overwhelming amount of information. I hope that was pretty informative and clear. If there are any questions for each of these exercises we did, or any other questions, please write them on chat so I will be able to respond. And Rafi, if you can read the first question.
Yeah, I see that we have some questions, so this is a good idea to answer them, of course. I see that also about the application object trees. So this is cool. Thank you guys for that. So I will start with the first question, but I will switch maybe to my screen. Just give me like a second, and
Good.
yeah, we'll put ourselves here. Yeah. So the first question from DS, I think Das. Can you get list of forms or tables access to each role type?
Hmm. We can get the list of forms or table access for process if you mean by this. So I'm able to understand what forms based on the entry point. I'm able to understand what form was used, and also tables are identified as well, if I understand the right question. So if you can paraphrase or yeah, just let me know if this was something you expected. But indeed, there are some more information about the tables that you can extract.
Okay, thank you, Bart. I would switch to another question from uh, Lustin. Can we find somewhere a license estimator?
The standard license estimator indeed is in standard dynamics. It is underneath the license report called user license estimator and user license counts. These are two reports you can use. They are in system administration module underneath inquiries. So these are elements which are available out of the box. The report we briefly went through, it is the extension that we provide for the users.
So basically, if you want to find the estimation, which will be more precise, you will need to use our executive automated security setup tool, but you can use a free trial with us. So yeah, book your
Exactly.
time with
That's the
us, and we'll yeah. Go
That's the
ahead, Bart.
perfect spot, Raf. Actually, you're mentioning a great thing. You can actually do, without any strings attached, just a tweak trial. You can run the report and see how it looks like for you. Because out of the box, the system gives you hard time understanding, and you can just use that free trial moment to define your scale of the problem, and then decide of the next steps. Yeah, just like that.
Thank you, Bart. Okay, we have two questions from Anya Górska. I will just show them. After updating the system to higher version of type, higher version, the type of user's license change. Privileges he had previously transferred to the higher license than he had bought. Have you also noticed these cases?
Hmm. Yeah. If you were thinking, I mean, if you did move from AX 2012 to to finance and operations. Indeed, that might be the case. And indeed, in between finance and operations updates, Microsoft is modifying privileges and duties. So there are situations where today you're going to have user A working with team member or activity license, and out of the blue, you will see that after the update, there will be basic finance. Just because Microsoft modified standardized privileges or standardized duties. That's another aspect why it is good to modify to use your own identified roles, because then you are not exposed so much on those modifications because you use something aside of standard. Indeed, this was few releases ago. Microsoft just did that trouble that system user role was modified, not exactly how it should be done, and then it was a big change and it was very costful. So they had to do modifications to it, or as the end user, you might need to do some changes to it as well. So the validations of new one version update might also include validation of the license. That's why it is nice to have some licensing report, which will just keep your hands on the pulse. Indeed.
Yeah, this is the fully which should be underlined. The best solution is have to implement in your organization the custom roles and privileges designed specifically for the process which is beneath them, because you can always rely on them and not be surprised for the modifications made by Microsoft during the upcoming updates. But we have also the other question. So thank you, Anya, for this question. And thank you, Bart, for answering that. Every element in the system has its own AOT name. Show where to find a list of those items and how to identify the AOT name to the correct privilege duty. I assume this comes from the application object tree.
Yeah, but the question actually, if we may ask Anna, if this is AX2012 or you mean more finance and operations?
Yeah.
Using this moment actually, yeah, the system has the AOT name of the objects, and in the system configuration you might see them. I will just open up system actually in the meantime when we wait for a response from Anna. I
Shall
need
I
to
share the screen?
Yeah, you can share my screen. So if you're wondering on what entry point name or duty is behind the scenes, I would suggest to use one feature from Dynamics, and that is so-called security diagnostics tool, which we also use in the combination with security setup. Anywhere you go, let's have some meaningful data. Let's select entity. Anywhere you go, you're going to say, I need access to certain elements because I need to enhance my duty. I can right-click to the form information, form name, and I can see exactly here the AOT name of the object, sales table list page. We actually click on something which was order events. So system is making the not a good call because system tells us that this is a menu item for the form is sales table list page. And actually we need to have access to the MCR order event table. And this is actually another thing which I could mention. We have an extensions to standard forms to give you more insights of what AOT name or object is behind the scenes. But even if you're going to use standardized, system gives you an idea what AOT object is behind the scenes or what might be. Not, I mean, in 60-50% situation, it will be adequate. If you want to more, you just need to have different tools. So that's one way, using standard. Second way is diagnostic tools. So if you're going to go here on the security diagnostics options, every form diagnostics, you can find out what duty privilege is behind the scenes. And you can also find out which object identifier name is behind the scenes. So you can find out the AOT name of the object from that area. Um, Saying this in another way, security diagnostics tells you what duty, role, or privilege gives you access to the places you went. I'm here on the all sales, and system tells me which standard, which existing security role, duty, privilege gives me access to the place. So I can actually take selected privilege, apply to the duty to make my user work. Yeah. And I think these are these nice functionalities that can give you to combination of identifying the AOT names and then do investigation on Visual Studio. If you do create your security access rights in more standard tool sets, or the way how the standard works. And Anna, if you have more follow-up questions, just let us know. We can respond in the chat, or feel free to let us know to organize more dedicated session for your questions.
Yeah, and if you, we definitely we can do the session together. So if you would like to, or you don't have a time right now to share with us if the answer which we have gave you is answering fully your question, go ahead and use the link which we have shared on the chat section and book with us the meeting, and we'll be able to elaborate from that and start from that. Okay, I see that we have more two more questions. Just give me a second. So first one, should we modify standard role if it fits the design purpose but the license is high?
Should we modify the standard role if it fits the design purpose but license is high? Okay. So if that's the problem of using standard roles. If you're going to say we have our sales responsible person, and you're going to use standard role for that person, it will fit the purpose, because most likely it will fit the purpose. Probably you're going to add not one but maybe 2 or 3 roles to the selected user, but the license will be high. And actually, Raf, that's maybe I will just share quickly
Again, the screen.
Yeah, I haven't been prepared for that, but I can show you quickly one of the graphs we've created for showcases and for some workshops with users. So we can share my screen now. Okay. So if you're going to follow standard roles, it will fit the purpose. If you're going to take two approaches. I'm going to use standard versus custom. I have sales representative. They do the same processes. If you're going to use standard role, you are actually giving 2,000 entry points. So you are giving access to 2,000 functionalities from the system, and you have to simply pay for those functionalities. If you're going to record process by process, 5 of them, you might end up with 21. So that's 1%. And that's actually the whole reason why we shouldn't do standardized way so much. Sometimes when we have, I don't know, maybe big buffer, or we are talking about position in the organization, which is rare. So let's say we have one account, the whole finance team, accountants, some general managers, or some CFOs. Most likely they're going to have the highest license. So for them, using standard roles might be good. Only in a situation when your SOX compliance required, then it might be quite hectic. But most likely CFO will be that exception noted in SOX compliance. So for these activities, for like a very rare few roles in the organization, I would suggest to use standardized roles. Rather than that, I mean, other positions, it's going to be more sense to do custom role when you have tools like that. Yeah, I think that probably answered the question. If not, let us know in the chat. We can follow up on that pretty interesting question.
Okay. Thank you, Bart. So I have, I think, the last questions for today's show. How security configuration is different next 2020 comparing to D365 finance operation? So
If you think about migration, you can't do that, unfortunately. So when you do upgrade from 2012 to FNO, you will need to redesign your security. So this is going to be part of the project. You have to count it in the overall project scope. When it comes to functionalities in finance and operations, there is no more RLSs. You have just XDSs. Aside of that, majority of modifications that you do in finance and operations, they're gonna remain in tables. So we don't do so much AOT changes. Where in AX 2012 we were doing a lot of projects, and this was more technical. In finance and operations, it's more UI based. It has more higher level activities. But at the end of the day, you will do an AOT objects in finance and operations, but the scale is much lower. So indeed, there are some these differences are big, but since finance and operations doesn't have access to Visual Studio in a so simple way as it was in 2012, I mean to AOT more likely, the projects for security done only on sort of UI level are much more expensive on finance and operations comparing to 2012. Actually, the question can be extended significantly, but yeah, I hope that answers as well mostly your concerns.
thank you, Bart. So yeah, guys, I think this is it. I will just check again the comments. But yeah, it seems like that we have it all for today's session. So many thanks for that. Many thanks for these questions. Thank you, Bart, for today's presentation. And guys, as I said earlier, if you want to elaborate more about the security topic with us, to discuss what are the key principles that we should follow in terms of security configuration, about segregation of duties, about the role-based configuration, process-based configuration, go ahead and jump to the link which we have shared on the chat section and book yourself a time with us, and we'll be able to answer your questions, deliver a free trial program of the Executive Automated Security Setup, basically deliver the value of your time which you have invested to speak with us. So yeah, thank you for that. Thank you, Bart. Cheers, guys, and yeah, we are seeing you around. Yeah, use the chat.
Have a good one.
Yeah, cheers. Thank you, and see you on if you will be able to join us in Dynamics Minds in Slovenia this year. So see you. Cheers. Bye.